Hello party people, welcome back to my channel. I'm Noelle. If you are new here, I'm a creator that lives in Chicago, and today I'm going to be talking about all the things you should know before moving to Chicago. We need a little drink to start us off. Man down. Root beer poppy. Okay, now we can get started. Things you should know before moving to Chicago. First of all, Chicago is the best city in the world. Argue with me on it, I dare you. One of my favorite things about Chicago is how walkable of a city it is. I lived in Denver before, and it's difficult to live in Denver without a car. I sold my car when I moved from Denver because I was going to London, which obviously I'm not going to bring a car overseas. So I sold my car, and when I moved somewhere, it was kind of important to me that I didn't have to buy a car again because I knew I was going to be living in a city. I knew rent was going to be more expensive. I didn't want to have to buy a car. Chicago's such a walkable city. Within my walking distance in my little area, I have like 3 grocery stores, a couple little markets, a bunch of restaurants, gyms, outdoor space, like all the things you could need. There's no reason to have a car. Would it be convenient sometimes when I'm getting groceries? Yeah, sure. But doesn't make it any less walkable. One of my favorite things to do here is walk. I love to walk from my place out to the lakefront, to the river walk, to the restaurant. It's just fun. It's a fun, walkable city. And if you don't like walking, there's a bunch of public transportation. So either way, you are set. So there's buses, there's underground trains, there's overground trains, there's trains that go out into the suburbs. Like, you are set. You don't need a car. Actually, don't bring a car because it's more of a hassle. Parking is so expensive. They ticket like no other. It's better to just not have a car. Just leave your car at home, okay? One thing I like to say about Chicago is when people say it's expensive, I say it's as expensive or as inexpensive as you make it. Obviously, when we are comparing it to other cities of the same size, we're not comparing it to random suburbs in the middle of nowhere. We're comparing it to big cities, okay? That's key here. I know a lot of people who pay a lot of different prices in rent. Obviously, that's going to depend on what neighborhood you're in, if you have roommates, if you're in a high-rise, if you're in a walk-up, if you're in a new renovated building, if you're in an older building. They're all factors that play into the price of things, obviously. But that being said, is you can pick cheaper options. If you want to live in a city and you don't want to spend that much money on rent, pick a cheaper place to live. That's what I'm saying, is you can make it as expensive or as inexpensive as you want. I think it's a relatively affordable city if you want to live in a big city. Big city prices still, so all things are relative, but it's cheaper than New York. Just saying. Dating sucks everywhere. It's not a Chicago thing. Trust me, I've lived in other cities. Like, people suck everywhere. People are great everywhere. So it's really, that's like a person by person thing. That's not like a city thing. You can't go to one city and be like, oh, dating actually is just awful here. Maybe you need to change your type. I should probably be taking my own advice. Point being is dating sucks everywhere. So that's not really like a factor in like just a Chicago thing. But I do think because it's in the Midwest and people are generally like nicer, I do think it's easier to meet people, like make friends. Like, people are just kind. They're nice, they're warm, they're welcoming, which is something I love about the Midwest and Chicago. Summer in Chicago is unmatched. People say it all the time, but it lives up to the hype. There's endless things to do. Every neighborhood has its own festivals. There's music festivals going on. There's concerts, there's sports games, there's boating, there's the lakefront, there's the river walk, there's restaurants, there's workout classes, there's run clubs, there's literally everything. It's like recess. It's like a big, fat recess after work. It's beautiful. I love it. Obviously, I'm coming into winter now. I moved here in the winter, so I've experienced winter. I'm from Minnesota. I get the vibe. I understand. Before anyone's like, oh, but it's really freaking cold in the winter. Yes, I understand. One thing that people love to talk about Chicago and living in Chicago and going to Chicago is the crime. Obviously, I'm not going to come on here and pretend like crime doesn't happen in Chicago. Within big cities, there's just more crime than there are in the suburbs and there are in smaller cities. So yes, because it's a big city, there is crime. It's not like Chicago is far worse than any other city. I've lived in a lot of cities. I've had weird shit happen to me. Like, I've been followed by guys, I've had my phone stolen, I've had my phone tried to be stolen, like pickpocketers, stuff like that. None of that has ever happened to me in Chicago. There's situations that happen, but that's just what comes with living in a city. So that being said, I don't think Chicago's like a horrible crime-ridden city. I just think it is a city, and that's kind of where people are coming from. And a lot of the times when you see that, you're either chronically watching the news or you're out in the suburbs and you've never lived in a city before. Some things that I do to keep myself safe, because again, there's just things that you have to do living in certain places. I personally don't use public transportation at night. Oftentimes I'm going places by myself, so I would rather just hop on an Uber. I don't walk around alone at night. If it's dark out, if that's in the winter, if that's 4 p.m., I'm not walking around. My friends that are in the city, and most of my friends just in general, have me on Find My Friends. If I go somewhere alone, I tell people. If I'm in an Uber, I tell people. Noise canceling headphones, I don't wear them when I'm walking around. So I use those like if I'm in a gym or I'm on an airplane. I love my noise canceling headphones. When I'm walking around on the streets by myself, I do not use noise canceling headphones. I have little headphones that clip on the outside of my ear so I can still hear everything that's going on. I carry pepper spray. Everywhere that I have lived has had a doorman and security. Like my building has 24-hour security. They have cameras everywhere. There's someone constantly walking around. Plus there's doormen, so you can't like get in the door without walking through the doorman and checking in. So it's just like little things like that that you probably wouldn't have to think of if you were living in the suburbs, but that is just city. That's city living. That's not necessarily Chicago, but those are a few of the things that I do that make me feel more safe. I have cameras in my apartment. I have like extra security door sticks in my apartment, just stuff like that. The restaurant scene, freaking incredible. I've had the best food here that I've ever had in my entire life. It's essentially located in the country. So if you fly a lot, you fly often, it's really easy to get to most places in a decent amount of time. Like you're not flying all the way across the country. You're kind of starting in the middle. And there's so many direct flights from Chicago. When I go, I've been to Europe back and forth a few times since I've lived here, and it's so easy because it's always a direct flight. You don't have to do a layover anywhere, which is so convenient and so nice. I really like that for just like traveling purposes. Dog-friendly city, like a lot of people have dogs here. It was so cute. The other month, kind of when it started getting cold, all of a sudden all the dogs were wearing jackets and sweaters and stuff. I was like, it's like a little doggy fashion show out here. I kind of love it. I love Chicago. Obviously there's more pros, there's more cons, there's just things that just come along with living in a city, but in general, this is the city that I've lived in that feels the most like home. I freaking love it. If you have any specific questions, like how to find an apartment, I recently bought a condo, I can talk about that, making friends, anything like that. I actually have an entire video of just how to make friends, and I will link it here for you guys because I feel like that's kind of helpful and one of the things that people struggle with most when moving to a new city. Don't forget to subscribe, like the video. My goal for 2025 is to grow my channel and connect with you guys as a community, and I will see you guys in my next video.